your pockets. Thank you.
All right, so I did my presentation on the Blaisdell house. That's how you say that word right there. So the Blaisdell house, it's right next to Perfect North Slopes. How many of you guys have ever been to Perfect's or seen Perfect's? All right, so when you pull into Perfect's, you'll look to your right and you see a really old house that looks like it's about to fall over. It just has rocks, there's no windows, and that's the house I wrote my report on. So what is the Blaisdell house? The Blaisdell house is home to one of the very first homesteads in southeastern Indiana where all of us live. So we live right around here, and the house got started in what is now Lawrenceburg. So how old is the house? The Blaisdell house was built in 1815, which is 204 years ago. From the time it was built, many people lived in the house for the next 114 years until it was no longer livable. So people lived in the house for almost 115 years, and then they decided they couldn't live there anymore, and they vacated the house. So what is the house made of? The Blaisdell house is, along with a few other homes nearby, are made of cobblestone. Who knows what cobblestone is? Does anyone play Minecraft? So this is what the house looks like. You'll see cobblestone, just basically a bunch of rocks that get cemented together, and they decided to make their houses out of that. So how many of you guys have like brick houses? So yeah, it's like brick, only a lot less organized and a lot less safe. It's like the brick of the 1800s. So how is the house still standing? Although the house does not have windows anymore, so there's a lot of birds and stuff that get in it. Due to many donations and the help of the others, the Blaisdell house now has a roof and a rebuilt foundation to keep it tall and strong. So a lot of people came together. Do you guys know what a grant is? Like people grant money? Yeah. So people gave money to the county, and then the county decided to put a roof on the house to keep it nice as much as possible so the house would stay standing because of its history in the house. So Pella, who knows where Pella is? Where's it at? Yeah.
Pella is in Lawrenceburg.
It was, yeah. So the founder and builder of the house, Jacob E. Blaisdell II, decided that the newfound land he was on was going to be named Pella. Today the same land is Lawrenceburg, Indiana. So where he built the house, he created a small town, which would be Guilford and Lawrenceburg. And now what he named it, Pella, no longer exists and is now just a part of Lawrenceburg. Question?
I live in Guilford.
Do you? Cool. So who was Jacob E. Blaisdell, the guy that founded the house? So after building the house, Jacob E. Blaisdell would go on to have 5 kids with his wife of 33 years. So the family lived in the same house for most of their lives until Jacob passed at the age of 62. Who can guess what caused him to die?
The console fell and crushed him.
Nope.
Sickness.
What type of sickness?
Ill.
Yeah, what type though? Like flu, chickenpox, cold. He died of the common cold. So you guys know how you guys get colds? And it's no big deal. He actually passed away from that because that's how poor medicine was. So what happened to him after he passed? So the Blaisdell family would end up getting into a family feud. They would end up dividing into 3 separate names, all keeping the name Blaisdell, just changing how the name was spelled. So it would be like if I went and got in a fight with my brother and he decided his last name was going to be Hartman and spelled it with an E instead of an A, and then I kept mine as an A.
Is that like that game show?
Different feud. Not the game show. All 5 children moved around the U.S., selling their house to a local friend who kept the house in his family until 1929 when it was vacated. So what else is by the house? The house is right next to a graveyard where many of the original Blaisdell family members, including Jacob, are buried today. So say, grandkids, kids, they all got buried in the family cemetery, which if you turn into Perfect's, you look to your right, there's a tree in the middle of a cornfield, and then there's a graveyard by it. And that's where all these people are buried. Along with this, a church was established, as well as a sawmill and a grain mill. Who knows what a grain mill is?
I don't know. It's a statue
No, a grain mill is where people would take like corn and wheat and flour and stuff and get stuff made for them to use in their house. The cemetery and the house are the only remaining buildings still standing today. How did Perfects get there? So Perfect North Slopes is right there. Why did they keep the house? After the Perfect family purchased the land, they signed a contract to keep the house intact in their agreement with the owners. So when they bought all this property, it was like 800 acres, they decided that they would keep the house because of its historical value in our county. Keeping their promise, it still stands today right next to the slopes, which many people love and enjoy every winter. Where are the Blaisdells today? So the family, after dividing, where did they all go? The Blaisdell family is now living in the state of Washington. They all go to school and thrive there. There are 2 great-grandparents alive today, 4 grandparents, 9 sets of parents, so 18 more people, and then 22 grandchildren among them. So their family went from 1 guy and 5 other people to this great big family tree. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
Oh, you talking about the? I'm still kind of confused. Are you talking about that house when you're going up Perfect North Slopes and you go like, let's say you're going Perfect North Slopes and you go over the train tracks to go in there?
Mm-hmm.
The house right in front of it?
Like, so you go across the train tracks and you turn into Perfects, right? So you know how you could go straight or turn left into Perfects?
Yeah.
When you turn left into Perfects, you know the house that's sitting there? That's like, it looks kind of beat up. It's right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why did Perfect buy or purchase?
Well, the Perfects purchased the land so they could have a farm, and it ended up turning into a ski slope, but they kept the house there for the historical purposes. Yeah.
Is that why it's called because it's Perfect North Slopes?
It's Perfects is the last name Perfect. So they just named it Perfect North Slopes. What's your last name? Mines. So if you did it, it would be Mines Slopes. See? Does that make sense?
Now, so
Mines. My bad.
is that why lines? How long ago was it? If they're also alive?
They're not all still alive. So the original family is not still alive. It's like the guy who created the house, it's his grandchildren that are still alive today. So the guy who built the house, he passed away in like 1860 something. So around 140 years ago. Yep.
I got 2 questions.
What's up?
My first one is, why did they put a roof and better foundation on it if the house is vacuumed and they don't need it anymore?
They did that so the house stays standing. That way people, it keeps the history in our community and everyone can learn about it and understand where the community started based on certain historical buildings like the house.
And my second question is, I know exactly what you're talking about on the farm, like surrounding it. I see it like with corn every time. Is Perfect doing that?
I'm not sure who farms right there. I imagine it's someone in the family, but I'm not quite sure. Anything else? Yeah.
So no of the Bates family lives here?
Nope, they all went to Washington State, which is all the way by California.
Why would they do that to us? They should just betray us.
Alright, is that all?
Yeah.
Alrighty.